So I just read the first, well, not just, over the past several months, read the first few chapters of the book of Genesis, and including today, have read the first 25 books. I mean, the first 25 chapters. Um, and I was going to. So, why, first of all, why am I reading it? Because it's like a major cultural thing. Um, I don't know. Um, One reason is because there's a big sort of void, or a big gap in my understanding of religion and the human mind and what the human mind sort of is willing to believe. And also, I'm very curious about what the interpretations are, how the interpretations, or at least today's interpretations, compare at least to this translation of the original text. Um, it's not about being like, oh, yo, you guys are wrong. I mean, obviously, all people base their entire things on anyway. Um, but it's about understanding how they're wrong. Um, are they wrong about X because they misinterpreted the text? Are they wrong about Y because they believed the text? Um, and also, yeah, I just think, and I think that maybe I could learn a lot from noticing what things in the Bible are often quoted, comparing that to other quotes in the Bible. Well, that's interesting. There's this whole theme, but people only talk about that whole theme or something. So anyway, so I don't have a concrete reason, but just there are some possibilities for things that I might be able to learn from reading, and I am doing. This is an English one, of course, and it is the New Living Translation. Published, and I've seen their offices when I would drive home from work. It's very close to where I'm from. Anyway, number two. So why am I? What did I want to make the video about? I remember. One thing I want to make a video about was to just do a compilation of some of God's demonstrations of omniscience. I say that sarcastically. He's got a lot of questions. He seems to be really confused. And then the next thing, besides the instances or false instances of omniscience or benevolence, another thing I wanted to look at was when I see some in-group, out-group stuff. I just want to talk about it, just kind of go through it with you. And have you read this? Because I feel like it's a lot harder. Not that it's ever should be. Humans aren't reasonable, right? If we were reasonable, we would never take seriously these claims or claims of people that subscribe to this. But we're not rational, and so people say, oh, there's a God, and there's this reliable text that tells us about it. And so, because we're not rational, that carries some weight for us. We should be laughing them out of the room. And sometimes we do, but other times, I don't know, it's compelling. It's because we're not rational. The same reason that they believe in it is the same reason that we don't see the silliness of it, or at least not completely. We maybe part of us sees some silliness in it, but the more visceral, primal parts sort of are like, okay, you know. I mean, it's so crazy. It's so wild. Um, like, even the people who maybe don't believe it or identify as agnostic or whatever, what are you doing? How like, oh, I'm agnostic that there's, a little fairy standing. I don't know. Some people believe there is, some don't. It's such an interesting question. No, it fucking isn't. Especially once you learn some psychology and you learn why people keep thinking that there's a fairy there. And then you're like, so this really has nothing to do with evidence. But you could have known that anyway from the fact that they didn't give you any evidence. Anyway, so speaking of evidence, you're reading through this and you just have so many questions. And even our unreasonable ass brains, I'm shocked that anyone could read this and take it seriously, not feel concerned about, first of all, the things that sort of don't really make sense or match, um, other stuff in here. But anyway, so I want to go through a couple details and just kind of, I wanted us to commiserate about how concerning it is that it's just so bare bones. There's just so much missing. And I guess I expected that the Bible is going to be this really thorough, compelling explanation. So, right. So I wouldn't be able to watch video evidence of anything, of course. But I still thought that it would be more compelling than it's been. And I know that there are things in here that anyone reads this, regardless of your beliefs, there are parts of you that are going, uh, 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 at various points. And it's like, how do you keep doing that and be okay? I thought I wasn't going to be going, I thought this was going to be absolute poetry to me. I thought it was almost going to be work to realize how much is sort of missing and why it isn't convincing. You don't have to do any work though. There is some explanation. My eyes just fell on this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and two are united in one. But actually, so that line right there, it's like, so here we go. You see how the story we're telling you explains why we do things the way we do them, and the whole thing. That's how it feels. That's how it reads. The whole first 25 chapters, it feels like some bozo wrote this to justify some bullshit. There are a couple just so stories that just don't seem right. Where and it's just a lot for us to accept, like circumcision to show that you're going to, oh boy. Anyway, so I want to look at some of the examples, but then I realized something that I was doing, which I don't know whether we're gonna call it flattening or what. We've been working on thinking about how to describe the versions of cognitive errors that we make. Or anyway, since the brain is simple, while I was reading this, I was taking this as the word of the supposed God. I was taking this as a reliable source of the thing, of the claim. I was taking it for granted. And so I was going to, in my video with you, I was going to be like, wait, I thought God was omniscient, but look at all these times he doesn't know what's going on. What about the whole Noah flood? He did the whole flood because there was so much wickedness and all of that. Everything the Lord observed the extent of, so this is book 6, Genesis chapter 6, line 5. The Lord observed the extent of human wickedness on the earth, and he saw that everything they thought or imagined was consistently and totally evil. So first of all, you go, I thought it was created in your image. Okay, whatever. I'm confused, but okay. So the Lord was sorry he had ever made them and put them on the earth. All right, you know what? Omniscience, I don't know that it's actually been established yet. So maybe he gains omniscience in a later book, and he's just figuring things out here because he fucks up so much. He's got two humans on Earth. He loses them immediately. One of his creations, the snake, the serpent, talks to Eve. Everything just gets fucked. So then he sees that. He's like, I can't put up with this any longer. Um, and then apparently Noah's the only blameless person living on the earth, and you're just like, what? Wait, why? And it's just not satisfying. Noah was a righteous man. So this is line 9. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, the only blameless person living on earth at the time, and he walked in close fellowship with God. Did God not learn over all these generations? How the fuck are there all these generations of people, and then, oh gosh. Anyway, so then he's like, all right. So this is what we're gonna do. Noah, make this ark. Boom. So, okay. So he floods everything. Okay. Then we get into chapter 8. The flood recedes. Right. So 40 days, 40 nights, whatever. Or is that the? Yeah, I think that's. Oh no, isn't that Jesus? It's 40 days. All right. Well, anyway. Oh no, this is after another 40 days. Never mind. So yeah. So this is the floodwaters covered the earth for 150 days. Anyway, doesn't matter. So Noah is 600 years old, by the way. And all right. So then we get into verse 20. So chapter 8, verse 20. No, verse 21. Okay, so Noah does some animal sacrifices, with the animals from the ark that he's about to release into the world, or that he's just done. Yeah, leave the boat, all of you, okay? And the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice and said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. Now, maybe this is a translation issue. Maybe he's not saying that it is the case that we are all bent toward evil from childhood. Maybe saying even in that case, he will not curse the ground. I don't know. I'm trying to give him as much credit as possible here. But then we're just gonna see with in the next several chapters, everyone is evil again, and like Abraham was like the only good one. So it seems like it is indeed the case that humans are all everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. And it's like, that wouldn't have happened if you had fucking let them stay in Babel and let them be united. But literally, the Lord was like, in chapter 11, he goes, by the way, he didn't know, he had no idea about this Tower of Babel. But again, maybe he doesn't have omniscience yet. So he comes, and by the way, he later wants to make Abraham famous. But the Babylonians, or the Babel people, whatever, they say, okay, so chapter 11, this will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. That seems like a good enough mission, and everybody will follow God. It's going to be great. Well, I don't know, they don't talk about God, but all he has to do is, all God has to do is introduce himself to one group. But then he goes, look. No, but the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower the people were building. Look, he said, the people are united and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other. So no wonder there were godless people after. They couldn't even communicate the message anyway. So wild. But anyway, so God wipes the earth with this flood. All of Adam's descendants, except for Noah and his immediate family. So then all of us were the descendants of Noah. All of Adam's descendants. So then it's just specifically the Noah branch now. Noah was the only good person, and he just a few generations later, everyone's evil again. Anyway, Abraham's such a dick. Just a super wealthy, colonizing, in-group, out-group racist, a jerk. But who's righteous because of his faith. So we are in chapter 15, the Lord's covenant promise to Abram, which by the way, the Lord is going to make again in a few chapters, because the Lord's going to go, oh wait, can I really trust Abraham? So once Abram is named Abraham, he goes and tests him. Although he's already made some promises, he doesn't really know whether Abraham's gonna, be loyal and stuff. So he's like, you know what, kill your kid. And then when he sees Abraham's about to do it, he goes, okay, all right, now for real, I swear by my own name. We're in chapter 22. I will certainly bless you. I will multiply your descendants beyond number, like the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Of course, he had already made that promise. He had said, look up into the sky back in chapter 15. Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have. By the way, so in verse 6, Abraham believed the Lord about the stars and descendants thing. So the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Then the Lord says something. I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of Moab to give you this land as your possession. Okay, so he explains himself a little bit. Great. And then Abraham goes, hey, by the way, how can I be sure that I'll actually possess it? What about the faith? So the Lord was like, all right, I know what'll convince you. Slaughter some more animals for me. But then I guess some of God's creations came down and stole some of the sacrifice before Abraham was able to cut the birds in half. I mean, Abram. So I don't know whether that's why. But then once he's all done this and he's asleep, verse 13, the Lord's like, by the way, one thing I didn't mention in this is part of the deal is that your descendants, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of territories and you're going to be kings and all that. But for about 400 years, your descendants will be slaves. But then I will punish the nation that enslaves them. And then they're going to get rich afterwards, your descendants. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about stuff like that, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I've underlined, a whole bunch of moments where I'm like, what about omniscience here? What about benevolence here? Yo, he was straight confused. I mean, unless you say that he just asked questions to... I think there were times where he actually demonstrates not knowing something. Then the Lord, back to Adam and Eve, chapter 3. Then the Lord called to the man, where are you? And then the Lord was like, you're hiding because someone... And so then Adam's like, well, I'm hiding because I'm afraid because I'm naked and afraid. So the Lord was like, yeah, but who told you were naked? Wait, have you eaten from the tree? Oh, yo, and what about Ham's son, Canaan? No. Ham is the father of Canaan. It's Noah's son, Ham. So Ham sees his daddy's Zizi. After the flood, we're in book 9. After the flood, Noah began to cultivate the ground, and he planted a vineyard. One day he drank some wine he had made, and he became drunk and lay naked inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked and went outside and told his brothers. Guess what happens to him for doing this? So the brothers take a robe, they cover up their father, right? Because, it's bad to be naked, I guess. which is some absolute knowledge that Eve had. Whatever. Anyway, so they do that, and but while they do this, they look away so they can't see, because the sons can't see their father's pee when he's drunk and sleep. But the daughters, by the way, do you guys know about this stuff? Like, I would have thought that you would like this stuff would be common knowledge. I am shocked by how much is in here that I have just never heard about. So you know what happened with Lot? His daughters wanted to like continue the family line. So 2 consecutive nights. First the older daughter, then the younger daughter. Let me read it to you. I'll read this one. This is verse 34 of book 19. The next morning, the older daughter said to her younger sister, I had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again, and you go in and have sex with him. So that night, they got him drunk with wine again, and the younger daughter went in and had intercourse with him. And the father was too drunk to notice. Anyway, so poor Ham. So he sees his dad Noah's wee wee, and so the brothers, I don't know who rats him out, but when Noah awoke from his stupor, verse 24, chapter 9, when Noah awoke from his stupor, he learned what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Then he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. So then he curses Canaan. May Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants to his relatives. And then what just popped into my mind? What did that remind me of? Oh, yeah. And what about before Sodom and Gomorrah? Abraham's being a little less dickish than usual, and he's like, "Well, I'm hoping he's asking these things out of concern." And so he keeps asking, "Yo, if you find some innocent people in Sodom and Gomorrah, like, will you, spare them?" And so the Lord says, if I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the entire city for their sake. So then Abraham's like, all right, what about 45? Uh-huh. What about 40? Uh-huh. What about 30? Uh-huh. What about 20? Uh-huh. And Lord keeps saying, yeah, all right. There's 20 people. And then the last one they do is 10. Finally, Abraham said, Lord, please don't be angry with me if I speak one more time. Suppose only 10 are found there. And the Lord replied, then I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. So then we want to get down, like, what's the lowest number? Like, what about 5? What about 1? We're hoping Abraham's going to go all the way with this. But he at some point he gets too scared, I guess, or something. Or actually, the Lord just decides, okay, that's enough. Don't ask about any lower numbers. He goes, so right after the Lord promises to spare the city if there are 10 innocents in there, the next line, verse 33, is, when the Lord had finished his conversation with Abraham, he went on his way, and Abraham returned to his tent. Okay. But by the way, I don't know that he holds to that. So all the men of Sodom are like, yo, we want to have sex with those angels. So then God's like, nah, fuck this. I'm going to destroy Sodom. I'm going to destroy Gomorrah. Because it's just the men of Sodom, right? Not also the men of Gomorrah. Oh, yeah. Oh, so Lot doesn't... Are the 2 virgin daughters he offers to the Sodomites, in order to spare the angels? Those aren't... Maybe they're not actually virgins. Maybe they're the daughters that had sex with him, but he never found out. I don't know. Oh, wait, but one of them got pregnant, so I don't know. All right, so all the men of Sodom, young and old, this is chapter 19, verse 4. So they came and they surrounded the house where Lot was hanging out with some angels. And they were like, yo, where are those men? Bring them out so we can have sex with them. And so then Lot was like, oh, no, please. They're under my protection. But I have 2 virgin daughters. You can do with them as you wish. But they were not. They were not happy. So the angels pull Lot into the house, bolt the door, and they say, "Yo, Lot, you got to get out of here because the Lord's fed up. So we're gonna burn everything. And you better hurry because if you don't hurry, he's not even gonna spare your ass. Get out right now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of the city." The angel said. Um, so Lot reached the village to some little village. He negotiated a little bit because the angels told him where to go, but he was like, no, no, no. Actually, I want to set up at this other little village. And they're like, all right, but hurry, escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there. Oh, so they weren't going to let him die. Anyway, so Lot reaches the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Verse 24, then the Lord rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them, along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. I mean, I suppose what he promises to Abraham, to who's just dust and a bit of the breath of God, I guess he doesn't need to honor that. But I don't know. Anyway, so as I was reading this and imagined talking with you about it, as you can see, I am just taking for granted that this is God, and I'm talking about God by using this. But then it's just like, what are we doing? What a flimsy source. And it's just like, this Abraham guy, this who's clearly inbred, some descendant of Noah, like, just how do we know he isn't making all this shit up? I don't know who the author is supposed to be, but it is so wild and depressing that this is at all a part of life. Um, and then what's so funny is you'll have books like this with as many superscript footnotes or whatever, except it won't just be explaining vocabulary. Hebrew or Boshat, the name Isaac means he laughs, blah blah. It says, here's the other extensive research that one sentence is based on. And is that not sickening though? I know we have to sort of adapt to it or not pay attention to it. But is that not sickening when you go, holy shit, a great percentage of human brains are happily believing this over something that is coherent and that references a whole bunch of other coherent things, which themselves reference a whole bunch of other coherent things. Are you not embarrassed? And it's just like, I was just born too early. Way too early. Way, way too early. It's just like, I feel like being existing during the witch trials. I'm just like, hold on. Can we slow down, guys? What the fuck are you talking about? What is this based on? What is going on? I mean, honestly, I feel like I could have been born even just a few generations later and still been able to contribute to our transition to critical recognition and stuff without having had to. If you just been born one generation later, it's pretty sure religion is, at least among people who think that it has some weight or deserve. The number of people who are laughing it out of the room is a minority right now. And at some point, can you imagine? What did I write? Like, can you imagine if I just found someone's journal and it described a whole bunch of stuff that didn't at all match my experiences or anything else that was known? And I was like, holy shit, And you can't even fucking evaluate it. You can't even say, all right, so then it says this here. So what is there evidence? You can't. It's crazy. Anyway, so I think I'll keep reading it. I don't know, bro. I mean, I don't feel a good reason. I feel like my reasons are still there, and I feel like this has been nourishing in some way to realize just how flimsy it all is. It's definitely depressing though. It's like, bro, I'm 16 pages in, and thousands of years of humanity, including its origins. That whole story's been laid out in 16 pages. I have questions, bro. 16 pages is not sufficient for explaining the creation and history of the world. And it's just like, this doesn't even seem like a real effort. And it should be setting off alarms. I mean, I honestly, because I don't think I never really, my brain still hasn't really adjusted to how shit the human brain is. And so I'm always inclined to give the benefit of that, and I'm just shocked that that it's just so fucking flimsy. And then, the Muslims make a really great point as well, which is that they're not like allowed to have different versions translated and so on. They have the Quran, and that's it. There's not fucking the New Living, the King James, and all this stuff. And when you see these videos of them trying to say that to Christians, like, yo, guys, you guys believe that Abraham was a prophet of God, right? And that there are stories about Abraham, about what God communicated to Abraham, right? And then a little bit later, you believe that God sent another major prophet, Jesus, right? And sent a message, right? Okay. And he did that because with people, all their thoughts are bent towards evil and whatever, and so he had to keep sort of reminding people about what's good and what the message is. Because yeah, they were made in his image, but I don't know, whatever. Don't ask questions. Okay, great. So we're all on the same page. And then after Jesus, right? There's a whole bunch of interpretations of what Jesus had said, what Abraham had said. There are a whole bunch of different versions. So God sent Muhammad, right? Peace be upon him. He was like, all right, I'm gonna give you 1/3 less messenger here, right? So when he sent that, now we have the third text, right? Like, I mean, guys, it's an infuriating compounding of irrationality. The fact that, like, I just hate it. It's just like complete lack of self-awareness. It's like, y'all are believing that flimsy thing. Why don't y'all like listen to any other prophets that he sends? Honestly, I think that the most reasonable religions in the world are ones that are based on more recent prophets. No people are reasonable. No religions are reasonable. But obviously, like, all else being equal, listening to the latest prophet is obviously the best. So whether you're Mormon or Muslim or whatever, and then you guys can be just as dumb as the rest are when the next prophet comes. And the Muslims go, oh, no, that third one was the last one. And there'll be this new, oh, no. The Arizics. Oh, no, Eris is the new prophet. We know Abraham said some shit, but, through empiricism, reason, imagination, skepticism, We had a reason to be concerned about, the integrity thousands of years later of this information. God sent down Jesus, so we trust a little bit more the integrity of that. It's a thicker part of this text here. Then Muhammad, peace be upon him, comes. It's even more recent. Is it longer than? Is there more text? I don't know, but it's a good chunk of text. And now Eris, he's got all these videos. He's got 10,000 pages, much more, in his journal. And he's citing shit. And he also says, please question me. So obviously my followers will be the most reasonable of all religious people. But they will all be idiots compared to those who are like, all right, we're just going to actually look at experiments. We're not going to base everything on what, like, one supposed messenger of God said. But if you have to be religious, okay, I'll be your prophet or whatever. Ask me anything. I'm super generous. I'm living out here. I live for humanity. I feel guided by God. And okay, I'll be your messenger, but no, not people who want to actually do the best and be scientific. And I'm just offering my institution to people who absolutely need an institution. Anyway, yes, it's all just really silly and great. So anyway, the last thing I want to say to have said something of value, and also for my new followers, is I want to talk about how where's the mic? How this is oh no, it has nothing to do with the Bible. We haven't read about death in the Bible. I mean, read about how we're supposed to respond to death. We haven't read about heaven. They only mention, and Jews don't believe in heaven anyway, or an afterlife, right? So, or do they? Or is it that they don't believe in hell? I don't know. But anyway, let's see, like for instance, verse 17 of chapter 25 of Genesis. Ishmael lived for 137 years, then he breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death. By the way, there's that whole thing of humans are referred to as mortal flesh. God says when he's about to flood the world, he's like, my spirit will not put up with humans for such a long time, for they are only mortal flesh. So he decides, you know what, I got to limit their life this time. He said in the future their normal lifespan will be no more than 120 years. Fast forward, didn't we just say Ishmael lived to 137? Yo, Abraham lived to 175. Y'all don't got questions? Anyway, Ishmael lived for 137 years. Then he joined his ancestors in death. All right, and then I was saying that when Abraham was questioning God back in Abraham intercedes for Sodom. So this is when he's asking, would you kill if there were 50 innocent people there? Would you still raise the city? And so here's what he says in verse 27 of chapter 18. Then Abraham spoke again. Since I have begun, let me speak further to my Lord, even though I am but dust and ashes. The speaking self is not dust and ashes, right? Because he's not just dust and ashes. Because when man was made, he was formed from the dust, yes, but then God breathed the breath of life into the man's nostrils. So what are his thinking processes? Are they from this breath of life, or his thinking processes dust? What's this business about being made in his own image? In his image? I guess that could just be literally When does he say the thing about I have made you in my image? Look, the human beings have become like us. Paradise Lost, God's judgment. Okay, verse 20, chapter 3. Then the man Adam named his wife Eve because she would be the mother of all who live. This is before the sinning. And the Lord God made clothing from animal skins for Adam and his wife. Then the Lord God said, oh, I gotta stop doing that. Look, the human beings have become like us, knowing both good and evil. Oh no, this is after. All right. Knowing both good and evil. What if they reach out, take fruit from the tree of life, and eat it? Then they will live forever. Wait, so they aren't living forever when they're living to 895 and 100 and 960 and 600 and all that years old? Whatever. All right, that's fine. Yeah, okay, accept that. Where is the 2 seconds? 2 seconds. All right. Well, actually, I don't even remember what I was saying, so we'll just keep going. I mean, I don't remember why I was looking for in his image thing. Well, that changes a lot. If God didn't say that He made them in His image, there's no way people are making that up. I mean, not no way, but unlikely, right? When did God say He made man in His image? 127. 27. So God created human beings in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. I don't have my other translation here. All right, whatever. All right, so the integration. So to have said something valuable. Sorry about that. Okay. Right. Integration. The myth of integration is that all of our thought processes, our behavior, all that's consistent because our behavior, everything's integrated, everything's connected, everything influences each other as appropriate. Great example of how that's not the case, of the fact that to show that that's a myth. We see examples every day, but people continue to believe that they're integrated. But here's a good example, I think. It's how Christians, for instance, handle death. Um, Obviously, we evolved to fear. Actually, why did we evolve to have such a reaction to death? Like, I understand why we evolved to have such a reaction to injury, pain, the needs of other people, so then we can try to keep them alive. But then once they die, uh, it's not about the reaction, maybe. It's about the crying. Someone dies, we cry to get support because not for the emotion, for the grieving. The grieving was just a byproduct because we needed to be showing distress. So it's like, all right, well, you have to be experiencing distress to show some. But the real point is it's about showing, hey, someone in my immediate group has passed. So I am compromised maybe, and I have one less hunter to provide for me or whatever. So then I cry and the other community members come and help. I don't know. It's interesting. In fact, Google that and put a comment. I got too much shit to do to think more about that. In any case, suppose that we have a natural reaction, and I think the evidence would support that based on life experience, but maybe not. But it seems like death causes grief. Uh, And that's why, and also, and that's based on the fact that one thing is that, for instance, in movies and stuff, um, in most cases, death will be a thing. Not that someone goes, "Oh, fuck, I can't hang out with them anymore until I go join them in heaven." Oh God, that sucks. Oh, I'm sad. Okay, I'm sad. I'm sad, and then you move on. No, instead it turns into this terrible anger, this unsupportable sadness. How can you be that upset that your loved one went to heaven? Like, is it jealousy? Is that? By the way, that's a joke you could use in a stand-up routine. How come Christians cry at funerals? Is it jealousy? Never understood why Christians. Hey guys, never understood why Christians cry at funerals. Is it jealousy? Perfect delivery. Don't know what that's about. But and then also, how about in movies, how bring her back, bring her back. What? She's off in heaven? You're gonna bring her back? What the fuck are you talking about? I I'm surprised, and why am I talking about movies? Well, I'm just saying there are a lot of most people have some sense of a positive afterlife, or at least half of people, and it's just crazy that that doesn't seem to be acknowledged in any movie ever. That's not true, but where usually the what's happening is that death is bad, and death means that the person is done, or that their soul hangs around and occupies Earth. But there isn't. We don't really. All right. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop talking about that. In any case, people who do believe that their loved one has gone to heaven, I don't understand what the big deal is, and I'm surprised, and maybe this is the case in certain Orthodox religions. I'm surprised there isn't some kind of custom condemns crying at funerals as a show of a lack of faith. It seems disrespectful to me to go into a church um, to celebrate someone's life, to acknowledge their passing, to acknowledge that you're going to miss them for a little bit, but to be crying and angry and upset. That seems disrespectful to me. To go into the house of the Lord, he's just taking this person up to his kingdom, and they're like, "Why? This is like, okay, don't do that in the house of the Lord. Like, stay at home. If your thoughts are all bent towards evil and silliness and whatever." I'm just surprised there isn't like a, maybe there is, and or maybe there's something that is in churches today, and the reason that it's in church today is because maybe that's why people wear veils, so to hide that they are mourning, because they don't want to be questioning God's decision or goodness. Maybe that's what veils are for. Likewise for brides, so they don't hide how much they hate this dude and stuff, um, and just accept to be given from the Father to him. Yeah, that's funny. And that's why we bow our heads when we grieve. But God doesn't see that we're questioning what he did. We should be fucking happy. We should be going, "Hey, he deserved it. He deserved to join you up there." Oh, gosh, I'm gonna miss him. I'm so happy for him. But anyway, so the fact that we just happily that there are so many people who can say, when you die, your soul goes off to this wonderful place, and then none of that comes up when they're grieving, and that's because we're not integrated. So that knowledge of heaven and stuff is not involved in the crying process. If we were integrated, it would be. Every piece would be involved in every other piece. An integrated system wouldn't cry, mourn, be angry about a soul go about while they also believe that the soul goes to heaven. and that they are going to join them, and that it's going to be for eternity, and that pales in comparison to the 50 years that were shared on Earth or whatever. All right. So a little bit all over the place, but we should not be doing this. We have so much actual work to do. But also I have really enjoyed being able to actually engage with this text.